having her here on the TCG side has been awesome.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. She's a real professional.
Oh yeah, definitely. In that Sobble hat and the t-shirt especially.
Matching without even trying, but other players that are also going to try to match without trying or win their matches without trying. We're going to be heading to round 13 soon. This is a win and in. These players are trying to lock up their slots, get into the top 8. We've seen it time and time again, Shelby, where the players are, okay, do I need 34 points? Do I need 35 points? Do I need 36 points? Like, how tight is that going to be?
Yeah, I don't think the players that we have at the table are on the win in this round, but our players today
a little bit of less pressure here.
They're trying to get to 34, 35 match points to get into that top 8. But speaking of trying to get there, we actually have our match lined up right now. Our players are prepping the field here, and it is going to be a fan favorite here on the screen, I'm sure. A lot of people recognize Andrew Mahone, who we did get to touch base with yesterday, playing that Mew VMAX, and we do get to see the matchup between Mew VMAX and Josh Fernando as well, who we saw on the stream yesterday. Of course, rocking that Lugia. Josh said that they played their first match with this deck for the first time yesterday. So in paper, just round 1, let's see how this deck works. And here we are, Josh Fernando. I believe both these players are sitting at, is it 28 points right now? Or was that the last round? But
they're at 31
they're
points
at 31
each, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have that pulled up here in a second. Yeah, Josh at 28. Yeah, you're right, 28 points.
Okay, yeah, so still grinding out these matches, trying to get to where they can. So this is, I'm excited to see this, Skarzig, because I'm sure a lot of people in our audience as well, we haven't got to see this matchup, and this was kind of a heavily anticipated one. How does Mew fare against Lugia? Because I've actually heard it both ways. Lugia players are, oh, Mew's easy. I can, like tie this up, or not tie this up, but take this game really quickly here. And the Mew players are, oh, I could deal with Lugia all day. So we're gonna see the this come to fruition here in this game.
When you have 2 decks that are at the top of the metagame, and this was something that we got a chance to talk about a lot yesterday, is that you're gonna focus on just doing your deck's strong thing. I personally would give the edge to Mew because it does run a little bit more disruption, especially this variant of the deck from Andrew Mahone, running that Judge, shuffling cards back into the hand. He's been really feeling himself. You could really tell during the interview yesterday that he's confident that he can use those disruptive cards at the perfect moment to disrupt Josh. But Josh has the upside of massive plot armor. We saw him take down Lugia Mirrors, be in a very awkward, slow start, and just abusing his opponents for whiffing their early setups. And that's something that Mew is notorious for also doing sometimes.
Yeah, I think this version is definitely a lot more consistent, especially with the Forest Seal Stone that we have now. I mean, that's just like one extra thing added to this deck to just add to that consistency. So I'm really excited to see how this turns out, see if either of these players can grind out these match points, make it into potential top 8, depending on how things pan out for the rest of the day. But this should just be a good match to show on stream, too, with 2 very well-known players in the community.
Mew having a much bigger showing at the other regionals that are going on this weekend, but now for Toronto, Lugia still remains the star of the show, and I want to see these 2 Titanic decks, these 2 Titanic players go head-to-head. But Josh starting off with a mulligan. So Andrew Mahone going to start with an extra card. That's not what you want to see against Mew.
No, well, that's what the Mew player wants to see for sure. But yeah, Josh, I guess on the other side of that coin, because Josh got to start with a mulligan yesterday from their opponents in the match, and we did see him come out victorious in that match too. So yeah, it is definitely crucial. You don't want to ever give your opponent more cards, especially a Mew VMAX deck, but sometimes that's how the cookies crumble. So we'll see if that one card could make the difference here.
I know that one battle VIP pass suddenly going to be drawn off the top. But
that's
Lugia also, it's a little scary. Whenever you open the game with Lugia, right, sometimes you get stuck with something a little bit awkward like Stoutland V in the active. If you aren't against a single prize deck, it can kind of get stranded there. But overall, Mew players are perfectly fine with whatever their opponent is starting. They just can promote that Genesect V or start with the Mew V. You're almost guaranteed to get your setup on the first turn, which we're hopefully going to see here very shortly. 2 mulligans. What's the record that you've seen so far, Shelby, for mulligans?
The record, 14, actually.
Oh my goodness.
At an in-person tournament, yeah. It was 14. Wild.
I think it was in Baltimore, we got a judge ball where there were so many mulligans the judge had to come through to like manually start the game. It just gets to a point where it gets to a point where the game just cannot start because a player built some wild list that has not enough Pokemon in it. And I've seen like Reggie's mulligan before, even though that deck is stacked with basic Pokemon. It's just a card game. Oh, but 2 Genesects in the prizes.
Oh my goodness. Look at the prizes for Josh as well. We have Radiant Charizard in there, the Lumineon as well. There's a Serena. Capture Energy, which could potentially, I mean, if there's 4 in deck, it shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, there is 4 in deck, so sticking with that consistency, something we see in a lot of Lugia decks. 2 Genesects here and a Power Tablet, and that Forest Sealstone as well for Andrew Mahone in the prizes.
Yeah, very awkward potential start for
2
Andrew
Ultra Balls
here.
Actually as well. That's huge because, you know, you need as many discards cards as possible to make sure you're dwindling down those hands to get to the resources you need. So having 2 Ultra Balls in the prize cards is kind of difficult.
Yeah, if Andrew Mahone's hand gets too gummed up here in the early stages, may be forced to use a judge early just to find the rest of the setup, and you want to save that for much stronger disruption. Josh going to open us up here, starts Pumpkaboo in the active and has the Evolution Incense. This is going to allow him to search immediately for that Archeops to get it into the hand, and hopefully has something else in the hand to get to the discard pile. I only got a glimpse of a Capture Energy there.
Yeah, starting that Pumpkaboo is not what you want to be seeing for the Lugia player, especially because you don't play Scoop Up Nets, at least in this list, unless there's some crazy out there. But you need to bump Path with that Pumpkaboo. So to get that out of the way, if that's what is blocking you from being able to get your Archeops out. So starting Pumpkaboo and losing the utility of the card itself is a little bit difficult here for Josh, but we'll see how that plays out.
And now next up is Quick Ball. Did have the means to discard this Archeops immediately to the discard pile. Going to search the deck now for another basic Pokemon to get set up. Might be a Lugia V is grabbed. Yep, absolutely. Maybe we can also see that turn 1 attachment. You really love to see that as well. Archeops number 2 has to be found. Sometimes you get 1 Archeops in the discard pile, and we've seen Lugia players have to make that difficult choice. Do I want to go for my full setup or just pull the trigger on the Summoning Star and only get 1 Archeops? And I think when you're up against Mew, you know that the pace of the game is going to be very accelerated.
Yeah, that's definitely a difficult decision to make, but I feel like you always want to aim for that 2 Archeops, which is exactly what we're going to see here from Josh. Yeah, this is pretty much an optimal turn for the Lugia player. You have the Lugia down, you have the energy attached, you have 2 Archeops in the discard pile. You do have that Primate Wisdom you can utilize as well in that Oranguru. So very good start here for Josh. We'll see if that tempo can keep up, though, because as you said, Skarzig, Andrew does have disruption in this deck. This is what you need to sort of take down a Lugia. You need to disrupt their lines as much as possible, their strategy as much as possible. And Andrew is kind of looking through the deck here right now, and I think prize mapping. Okay, what is my prize cards right now? 2 Ultra Balls are in there.
Yeah, he's about to get the bad news.
2 Genesects are in there. This is definitely rough. 4 Sealstones in there. Yeah, that is not where you want to be. With your power tablets in there.
Yeah, very true.
Oh,
and Andrew was so happy to see that Oranguru come down, right? That is one of the cards that has really risen in prominence in the current metagame, and he's been excited to really punish it using Judge over Marnie. But now at least 2 Genesects can make it happen, hopefully, with Mew V starting off in the active. We can get another Mew V down, just start threatening the evolution into Mew V Max. But first battle VIP pass grabs just to Genesect and an Oricorio. This is going to give a massive signal to Josh Fernando as well that obviously those Genesect Vs are in the prize cards, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, unless there's some sort of strategy that Josh is like, oh, an Oricorio instead of another Genesect. But, I mean, I guess that is a strategy there. Of course, that lesson in Zeal, your Fusion Strike Pokemon take 20 less damage. So that could actually matter later in the game, potentially, where the math lines up. But yeah, definitely. You want as much draw support as you can get, and there's only 2 Genesects down, so that definitely is a bit telling for Josh.
But fortunately, you can adapt to the situation pretty easily. Just gives you a bench slot for the Oreo Choreo, right? Sometimes players have all the Genesects in the world on the bench, and they never find the time to really get the Oreo Choreo down. This allows Andrew Mahone to adapt a more defensive stance, and then the 3 Mew V gives a lot of resiliency as well. If you can keep up that slew of attackers, right? If Lugia V-Star goes down, another Lugia V goes down, and then maybe Stoutland V or something goes down, that's the prize map right there. Double turbo energy attached to the Mew V in the active.
So what's going to be huge in this turn is Andrew needs to get down that path to the peak, for sure, to shut down those Archeops coming out. It is already in hand. Which,
Heads on the Cram-O-Matic.
Oh, there we go. That is a discard to the Cram with the Ultra Ball, though. So, and of course, 2 other Ultra Balls are in the the prize cards. So that is a 3rd Ultra Ball down. So that might come to play later in the game unless Andrew can just take those prize cards and not have to worry about it. Taking prize cards and have 2 Ultra Balls, that's pretty nice there. But
yeah, you need it to get that Mew VMAX or something. But Andrew, I think, is kind of okay with taking this just a touch slower, especially, I see 1 Mew VMAX in the hand already, and we've got the 2 Genesects in play. Could be enough card draw to get what he needs. Josh, however, is about to completely open this game up. As soon as Andrew is done with this sequence, can just hopefully evolve into the Lugia V-Star to get that Summoning Star down.
Yeah, but if the path to the peak comes down, Josh is going to need to find...
and how many path is Andrew on? 2
well,
path. Okay, so
2
a couple.
path,
Oh,
one's
and
already
you
in
see
hand.
the
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I was saying.
okay.
So Josh does have a bump of the stadium. Of course, Pumpkaboo's already in play, so that can't be utilized. There is a collapsed stadium in Josh's list, but he has to get there. And Lugia can lack in that draw sometimes, which is what we might see. And this could be a huge turning point in this game for Andrew Mahone, just putting that disruption card. Of course, you want to slap that down as the last thing you do, so that your opponent's like, okay, no path, I don't see path, and then it's the last play you make, and you're like, all right, go ahead, deal with this path to the peak. So now Josh has to sequence out of this situation, and that's going to be pretty tough here, but we do see that capture energy, so searching out another Pokemon. Usually when you're going against Mew, depending on what your strategy is, of course, we did see a lot of attackers, like the Radiant Zard and the Lumineon as well for Josh in the prize cards. So getting that second Lugia V is kind of going to be the strategy here, making sure that you have attackers lined up, because Mew VMAX can take some pretty large knocks.
Yeah, I like this. I like the bench of the second Lugia V, just trying to protect your evolution once you do get the bump for the stadium. And I like the timing here as well for Andrew. Wants to get that path down, slow the opponent. Because the Mew VMAX is already in the hand, doesn't have to worry about losing out on the Genesect ability.
So I didn't see what was in the hand for Josh, but obviously nothing that is useful for the turn, because it was just a pass back to Andrew.
Yeah, just use that Primate Wisdom, trying to save something for next turn, but now being dominated by this path to the peak. You can't pull the trigger on that Summoning Star, and Andrew has completely forced this train to stay at the station. Nothing's up and running yet. Now we got the free retreat here into the Mew VMAX.
Yeah, and this is where you can see that Lugia can sometimes falter. If you don't have that draw support that you need, you can't line up the plays that you have to get to. I mean, even starting Pumpkaboo is pretty rough as well. So this is just tough. I mean, only 2 cards in hand for Josh, so this is just not a space you want to be in. But Andrew is going to get that early, I mean, first blood, pretty much.
I like it.
First pumpkin juice, I suppose, there, knocking out that Pumpkaboo for Andrew. So taking that single prize card, and that's all Andrew really needs to do, is just keep up this pace of taking prize cards every single turn. You can make certain plays depending on what you have in your deck to gust up certain attackers that you want to take off of the field. Things like the Yveltal that might be very scary against Mew VMAX, because it just auto knocks it out, and that's what actually we're seeing.
Josh is trying to find it, still playing towards that line, and that's the best part here, Shelby, is when these players are still behind, they're constantly assessing the situation, adjusting their game plan, still playing towards their win conditions, and trusting that I'll find a way to answer this path to the peak. If Josh had started any other Pokemon except the Pumpkaboo, had the Quick Ball, could have just grabbed it right now to bump that stadium and just been off to the races. But now just has to find that Collapse Stadium and the Lugia V-Star, but has to pass back.
That is difficult.
So now we're going to get a Techno Blast off of the Cross Fusion Strike to knock out this Lugia V. 2 more prizes going to Andrew Mahone. Not too much sequencing probably going to happen this turn because of the Path to the Peak turning off Fusion Strike system, but we can still see there's an Ultra Ball, there's a Cramomatic here. 4th Ultra Ball. There's 2 in the prizes, already got rid of 1 and now gets rid of the 4th, can get that next Mew VMAX, so now we have the proper setup. When you use Cross Fusion Strike to use Techno Blast off of Genesect V, that Pokemon cannot attack the next turn, so you have to make sure you retreat that to keep up your pressure.
So the Techno Blast with the DTE does 190, so we are going to have to see some damage modifying here.
Oh, just going to scoop it.
Yeah,
has the Forest Steel Stone.
And
you can use that under peak.
Yes, you can use that under peak, and that was actually the prize card that Andrew took there, that Forest Steel Stone that was right there for grabbing for Andrew. So, yep, that is going to go game 1 here for Andrew Mahone in this matchup, and this is just where you see that Lugia can really falter sometimes if you just don't have a good setup. I mean, Josh really had everything except for that Pumpkaboo start.
Just poorly timed.
That was so tough, because if Pumpkaboo wasn't started or wasn't in the prize cards, really all Josh would need is some sort of Pokemon search to get it out. Of course, not Capture Energy, because that would put it straight on the bench. You need to play from hand, but but honestly, Josh,
I gotta admit it, I made that mistake before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no!
Or playing Lumineon with the path in play. I think we've all been there, but it's just me. Chat's ripping me apart right now. Scrubzig on the desk. But Andrew Mahone, I don't know if you noticed it, Shelby, he kind of had this look on his face. I don't think that he kind of was breathing a sigh of relief, I felt, to take this early first win. He's pretty excited to get this early advantage. Perhaps in his mind, this matchup is a bit more even than we just saw in that first game. As I said, if Josh had started pretty much any other Pokemon in the active and had that Pumpkaboo to bump that stadium, then we would have gotten the Summoning Star. And I don't know if Andrew Mahone really is the main character for day number 2, can make the miracle happen once more, get that Path to the Peak set up on turn 1. Josh, no doubt, maybe wants to try to go first or second again. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, when your deck is catered to beat Lugia, which is definitely what Andrew's deck is catered to do, you're sitting pretty in these matchups. I'm sure he feels super confident going into this, as long as it's just like kind of a standard Lugia list. You know, sometimes you can get a little spicy here and there from the Lugia player. Of course, you can pretty much slot whatever you want into that deck, essentially. But yeah, I mean, Josh is just playing a pretty standard list here, so I'm sure Andrew has gone against tons of these Lugias and knows exactly which cards he needs. It could have gotten very spicy there if Josh had a better start because of the prize cards for
Speaking
Andrew.
of a good start, now Andrew is the one who's got a mulligan. So Josh going to get an extra card. We saw a little bit of a choice there. Do I want to start with the Evital or the Lumineon?
Okay, so in the prize cards here for Josh, we do have a Lugia V, the Oranguru as well, a Lumineon. Just can't stay away from prizing those Pokemon there.
Yeah, the Oranguru is going to be really troublesome because that's a great way to just keep your hand moving, see an extra card every turn.
So also those prize cards, that's huge, is there was 3 supporters in there. And those are all 2-ofs in this deck for Josh. So now they're 1-ofs in the deck because they're in the prize cards. So in the deck, if Josh is going to want to use that particular supporter, there was Serena, there was Boss's Order. Serena is huge in this matchup because you can get that extra draw support if you need it. But not having the Marnie, the Boss, and the Serena is really tough. Let's see. Forest Steel Stone back in the prize cards for Andrew here. An Ultra Ball, a Power Tablet as well. I didn't get to see the rest, but those are also pretty tough prize cards. I don't think as bad as last time, but that Forest Steel Stone, it just, the prize cards call it, I suppose.
Yeah, you're just not allowed to. Mew can't have that much power. It can't draw all these cards and have the disruption and then have a V-Star power. The Forest Steel Stone is going in the prizes just to make sure this match stays as even as possible. Josh going to start us off with the Capture Energy attached to the Evital in the starting active spot, and is now just doing a quick prize check here.
Yep.
And now can, search for another Pokemon to bring onto the bench. From this point, probably just, Lugia V. Yep, of course. So we saw in game number 1. You need to get this set up. I haven't looked at the rest of the hand yet. I only saw the decision between Lumineon and Evital. We'll see if perhaps there's an Archeops in the hand. Get those into the discard pile here pretty soon. Professor's Research is going to be a great way to trigger that as long as we can get some Evolution Incense or something to fish up the Archeops, but just has to pass. Andrew Mahone going to open us up. Only has Oricorio in the start and no other Pokemon right now. There's one Quick Ball, but what do you discard for it?
Yeah, so another thing about this start for Josh, starting the Evital is also not really a good start either. I mean, I guess anything against Mew is difficult, but starting that Evital especially because there is nothing in Josh's deck that brings Pokemon back from the discard pile. So once it's on the field, and it's able to be knocked out by your opponent, it's gone. And that is actually a huge card in this matchup, that Evital, because it can just take out a Mew VMAX at as easy as possible. I mean, it knocks it out. So that's definitely
Oh man,
huge.
it just has the path.
Wow.
Has the Quick Ball to find the
No
UV,
other Pokemon
attach the
out,
double
though.
turbo energy, and then path to the peak to shut down
There
the
we
Lugia.
go.
Pumpkaboo finally finding the right
Huge.
timing, immediately getting rid of the path, and Josh now gonna. Now here's the thing: is the Pumpkaboo premature? Do we have the means to get the Archeops already down, or is?
I didn't see what is in hand for Josh, but honestly, being able to capitalize as much this turn, if we can see Lugia V-Star, we already saw the bump of the path, so the ability is open as long as we see it. If we can see the Archeops go into the discard pile, that Evital can be online if there's no pivot out of it as well, and start taking some knockouts here. And Andrew didn't have anything else in hand for the setup. There's no Genesect on the field right now either. So if Josh is able to capitalize off of this slow start for Andrew, I mean, yeah, there was the path to the peak in the hand, but now it's been bumped. So Josh needs to do as much as possible on this turn to take this this lead.
Yeah, I almost feel like you'd want to wait to use the Pumpkaboo in order, on the turn you're going to get your Summoning Star active. But Josh, I believe, is just giving a little bit of respect, right, to the judge, and has to go for the Marnie this turn. So yeah, getting the Pumpkaboo out of the hand because you're going for the Marnie. There's nothing else to get the Archeops down. Those go to the bottom of the deck. And 5 off the top. We've got the V-Star and a Quick Ball. No Evolution Incense for the Archeops, but at the very least, Josh may have bought a couple more turns here while Andrew is scrambling to complete the setup with Genesect V and find that second path to the peak.
Yeah, it's such a difficult decision, too, because you know that your opponent didn't really have much in hand, and now you've just refreshed their hand into new cards, especially very dangerous to do going against a Mew as well, because they have so many outs to their cards. But we are going to see that Lumineon come down and search out. I believe it was a Professor's Research.
Correct.
So lining up the hand here, obviously Marnie was already played, so Professors can't be played on this turn. But that's going to be huge if we can see Professors get those cards that Josh needs. I don't think we saw, as you said, Skarsgård anyway, to get the Archeops, and I don't think Archeops is in hand either.
And so essentially Josh has to make that choice to say, I'm helping my opponent a little bit with their setup, but Mew has way more ways to complete its setup than Lugia, right? And we know, as we saw from game number 1, Andrew can shut that down with just one card. And so Lumineon finding the Professor's Research, Josh might be forced to just discard the hand and draw 7 more just to look for the Archeops, praying to get perhaps an Ultra Ball to double discard those to activate Summoning Star. Meanwhile, Andrew, not a lot going on in the hand, is getting this
there is a lot.
UV
There
set
actually
up.
is a lot in the hand. There's Silene, which could
Okay.
bring back that path to the peak. There is Quick Ball as well, discarding the Lost Vacuum, which of course is a card that you can use to get rid of your own path to the peak to unlock your abilities. But it's in the discard pile now. But searching out that Genesect to be able to draw into more cards is very important. So
yeah, so Andrew, you can see he's like, okay, how do I want to do this? There's all the Genesects are in the deck.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be that was had to be sequenced well, which Andrew's doing great here. But we'll see what can be drawn into, unless the Silene is going to be the first option here before any sort of draw. There's one heads here, so one card could come back from that discard pile.
Going to find the path to the peak.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's huge because let's see, there is 2 paths to the peak, 1 lost city in deck.
Okay, so overall, Andrew is again completing his setup.
I love. You hear the banter down at the table as well. Andrew Mahone always gives us a show. I feel like such a positive person.
Who actually picks up the quick ball.
Yeah, actually, that's
Yeah, to get the other Genesect. Just gonna sequence this to get as much draw as possible.
Yeah, because there's still another path in deck. There's not one in prizes either. So
okay.
that is having that support for these turns is even more important, I would say.
Yeah.
But I don't know because
it really
it
just shows his confidence.
Strong.
It does show his confidence that he's going to value completing his own setup, just recognizing that the draw power of Genesect V is going to find that next path. Now that Josh has the Lugia V-Star in play, but no Archeops yet in the discard pile, especially after pulling that Professor's Research with the Luminous Sign ability, Andrew might just have a read and say that Josh doesn't have the Archeops, has a really awkward start. And so I have this window of opportunity to just draw a lot of cards, get a lot of resources to respond to Lugia V-Star. This Mew VMAX isn't just set up to, exactly, isn't designed to fully just rely on path in order to win this matchup. But if you just so happen to not get it, heads on the Cramomatic, path to the peak in the hand, and what card does Andrew Mahone want anything out of the deck here?
Well, there's already been, of course, that Silene was played, that supporter to get out of that situation. Yeah, path to the peak is already, that is just so, that's going to be very difficult for Josh to have to deal with, because then he's going to have to not only find the pieces to get those Archeops into the discard as well, but also find a bump to the stadium. So, and there's only one collapse for Josh. So that's going to be really tough. You know, that's what Mew VMAX does. It gets you cards when you need them, you know?
Yeah,
it's not like you don't predict which cards you can get unless you're doing something like Rotom Phone, I suppose, and you kind of stack it to the top. But still, you just play into exactly what you need. It goes so fluidly, and Andrew Mahone is just kind of running away with this turn right now. And to think that all of this spawned off of a Marnie as well from Josh.
Yeah,
because
Josh,
Andrew's hand was not good before that.
Yeah, the Marnie cuts both ways. Josh is the one that is under the most pressure to complete the setup, and so you have to go for that Marnie just for the sake of seeing more cards out of your own deck. And you know that even if you didn't play the Marnie, you're going to try to keep Andrew on a clunky hand. There's no way to tell if that next top deck into a Cramomatic or something completely blows the game wide open. And now Quick Ball discarding a Quick Ball, failing that just to thin the hand down, the final Fusion Strike system being used to draw back up. And now with an attach and a retreat, we've got Mew VMAX in the active to take down this Evital. Just a little bit more sequencing, of course. Path to the peak, hitting that spot. The stadium is now in play. Evital goes down. Ultra Ball in the hand for Andrew Mahone. First prize taken. And turn. Josh now once more using the Pumpkaboo.
Yeah, back at the beginning of last game, pretty much the Pumpkaboo is
stuck in the active.
There. I mean, but
can't
Josh
do anything to the path to the peak.
Josh had to do it because the Pumpkaboo was the option there, and there had to be more cards from that supporter as well. So Professor's Research being played here, not to discard any Archeops, unfortunately.
All right, so we've got the Collapse Stadium in the hand. We've got 2 Archeops in the hand, but we need something like an Ultra Ball to get these into the discard pile. Having that Stadium is so important. If Josh gives it away, you know what I mean, that he has a means to deal with it, then, you know, Andrew might just start throwing down the judges over and over and over again from this position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we saw with the Silene play, getting that quick ball was so smart from Andrew because valuing the consistency of setting up your board versus just kind of what we were talking about. Could have been path to the peak out there. It's just it's what you need to do, especially because you knew that your opponent, yes, they had the the professor's research in hand, so you knew there was going to be draw support, but setting up your own board state and then also just drawing into the second path to the peak was so strong here from Andrew. We do have 2 power tablets in the hand now. There is an Ultra Ball as well, I believe a Mew. So right now it's going to come down to kind of the same strategy here as the last game that we just saw with Andrew taking that win. Just take consistent knockouts and target down whatever you want if you can do that and have the option to as well. You know, taking out these potential attackers if that's what you aim to do. You know, taking out a Pumpkaboo, yeah, you get a prize card, but taking out a Lugia V-Star is a much better option for you.
Yeah, if you can get that Lugia V-Star down, even if Josh gets those Archeops into the discard pile, no summoning star able to be used. Either you have the peak to stop it, or you just get rid of the Lugia V-Star altogether. And now Mew VMAX being found off of Andrew Mahone's final Ultra Ball here. And so now, again, we have the full setup once more. And we'll see if he has a means to gust up this V-Star. I see the Serena in hand, but might just be willing to take a turn, leave that path. Oh, actually brings up the Luminion. Yeah, not enough attack power to take down the V-Star.
If you're not able to take it out, then you just want to take as many prize cards as you can. And again, 2 prize cards is better than 1. So knocking out that Luminion over the Pumpkaboo there, super important here. And Josh is just back in this space where how do you really come back from this, especially when you're staring down, you know, a Mew VMAX, your Yveltal is gone now, it's in the discard pile. 310 HP on that Mew VMAX, such a powerful Pokemon. Your opponent has now taken 3 prize cards off of you. This is just as uphill as it gets.
Josh checking the discard pile, seeing how many gusting effects Andrew still has access to. Going to have to bump this path and maybe take the risk of trying to set up another Lugia V if we can't get the summoning star this turn. I see the professor's research, I do believe, in Josh's hand. And now Andrew has to make the choice of what to send to the discard pile because of the collapsed stadium with that full bench. Gets rid of a Genesect V. The setup is already completed, doesn't need a lot of card draw from this position. And now Professor's research does come through. That's 2 Archeops now in the discard pile, being turned sideways. Very classy, gonna fish those right back out with the summoning star. 7 new cards in hand and a new lease on game number 2 for Josh. Has to win this one to bring it to game 3 and stay up in the Swiss rounds here in Toronto.
Yeah, this is our round 13 here. Our players have plenty more to go still, but these players are grinding for 34 or 35 match points to get into top 8. So this is super important. And we even see a choice spell here on a Pumpkaboo.
Yeah, just to get that out of the hand.
You might as well. I mean, if you're going to play a research, you might as well play the choice spell, right?
I mean, the Pumpkaboo is just styling.
Yes, exactly. So we are going to see how Josh is able to respond here. Of course, it is great to have that bump of the path because that allows you to actually use your summoning star ability, V-Star ability, which is big. But like I said, it is an uphill battle for sure here for Josh, especially already discarding so many resources and not in the order that you wanted to. It was so much more seamless on Josh's end as far as first turns go before in the last game that we saw. But now we're going to just try to see if Josh can clean things up here in time before Andrew knocks everything else out.
Yeah, I like sending the Genesect V to the discard pile off the collapsed stadium because now the prize map is thrown off by Josh. We can't just take down 3 Genesect V to win the game. We have to get through a Mew VMAX as well. That 310 HP, still pretty difficult for this list to get through. A lot of powerful colorless energy does still need to be found in order to make it happen. But Lugia V-Star about to get powered up here. That's 3 powerful colorless energy on top of the 220 base damage on the Tempest.
That's 4.
4 powerful colorless energy.
You know how much damage that is? That is 300 damage plus a choice spell, 330, Skarzik.
Let's go. 3 prizes about to go over to Josh Fernando. Andrew did his best to keep this situation from happening, delayed it for as long as possible, but now Josh is opening up the floodgates on this game. All 4 powerful energy in the deck and available. Going to take 3 prize cards, knocking out this Mew VMAX. absolutely enormous here in game number 2.
Yeah, that is definitely huge here, but still going to be difficult for Josh as well, because then you have to figure out what you're attacking with after that. And like you said, Skarzig, there needs to be another 3-prize knockout in order for Josh to take this game.
And the Tempest Dive with the extra effect to discard that stadium in play. And so now Josh can bench an extra Pokemon if he needs to. Back over to Andrew Mahone. We've got the Forest Seal Stone showing up here to find the perfect card to get out of the situation.
2 power tablets were also played for the turn, so that boost of damage on this turn as well has been activated here. That Forest Seal Stone, of course, coming down, not being used yet. There's 2 cross switchers in hand now, a Cram with a Lost City. Cram, of course, can't be used unless you have an item card as well to discard for it. Oh, man. Lugia V-Star with 4 powerful colorless energy. Like, that is not what you want to be seeing as a Mew player.
Yeah, Andrew has to try to take this monster down, but it's very difficult to do. We've got a couple power tablets, as you said, in play. That's offset by the double turbo energy. So we've got 240 right now.
Yes, 240. Oh my goodness.
He's gathering up the cross switchers, so
but that means you could throw one away to the Cram, so we'll see. Oh, and it's a heads here on that dice, so let's see. We just need a little bit. Oh, wait, Choice Belt as well is there.
And the Choice Belt, okay, so we're up to 270, just a little bit more. Do we have one more power tablet in the deck?
So I did see one in the. Oh, is one in prizes? Because one's in the discard.
All right, so I think we do have 280, so it's 190.
Yeah, because the Choice Belt.
From the double turbo energy, and then the Choice Belt, and then 2 power tablets right now.
So I don't know if no, it's not in the prizes. So yeah, there is still 1 power tab in there, and we do have the Forest Seal Stone.
And with the powerful colorless energy now being sent all to the discard pile from Josh, you know, you don't have the means to swing back into this Mew VMAX. And this might allow Andrew to just completely pull ahead here in the prize race.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew needs to take out this Lugia or lose the game, pretty much. So that's what needs to happen. You know, of course, like I said, we still have that Forest Seal Stone there on that Genesect V, so.
And there it is. The knockout comes through. And thanks to Lost City, the Lugia V-Star goes to the Lost Zone.
Awesome. So there we go. That is 2 prize cards, putting Andrew down to 1 now. So like we said before, Skarzig, Josh needs to find a way to be able to take out this Mew VMAX on this turn, and I'm not sure that way is there. Of course, we do have that Radiant Charizard in the active right now, which does hit for 250, but that is not going to be enough.
Yeah, 250, climbing the mountain that is Mew VMAX, very difficult to do.
If Josh still had the Yveltal.
Yeah, it started off in the active, it got knocked out first, and now we just don't have a way to get that final instant KO with the amazing destruction attack. And again, with powerful colorless out of the equation, there's no way to set up another colorless attacker to take advantage of that. It looks like it is going to be nothing that Josh can do to take these final 3 prizes, and Andrew Mahone may have done it here. Josh going to take the time to evaluate every single possible line.
It hasn't been scooped up yet as far as Josh's side of the board here, so there's still got to be something there.
I always get nervous
missing,
too.
You know?
When you think that you've completely locked out every possible chance for your opponent to win the game and they haven't conceded yet, you're thinking, okay, what possible things could they do? What am I missing? What can Josh do to get out of the situation? And I'm going to admit it, Shelby, I'm struggling to think of a situation here. I was making stuff up yesterday, but now I can't even do that.
Some people play 2 Yveltal, but Josh does not.
Oh, yeah, the double Yveltal. I wonder if maybe that's what Andrew's worried about.
It's pretty it's very rare that you see double Yveltal in these lists.
It's
but
cheeky, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a tech, I suppose. But yeah, there's no way for Josh. I'm just looking through the deck list right now to get that back out of the discard.
Yeah, so again, just again, at this point, you need the wins, right? These players are trying to do everything possible to take the W, so I do not fault Josh at all for evaluating every line, every opportunity. Ultra Ball now discarding the Lugia V-Star, and a boss's order is going to keep looking through the deck.
Yeah, and it's not like you can even just take your board state to a one prize board state, like take off some of these 2 prize Pokemon like the Luminion or whatever. There's a lot of plays that happen sometimes with the Collapse Stadium and these Lugia decks.
All right, I'm logging into the main frame.
But
Double Dip Fangs has 40 base power. How do we boost that up to knock out a Genesect V?
oh, actually, well,
There's, again, because all 4 powerful colorless energy had to be assigned to the Lugia
yeah,
V-Star
that's what
there,
I was thinking.
there's just no other way to increase that attack power.
Yeah, the powerful color has, the powerful colorful energy has been spent, and it was spent well to take out that Mew VMAX. But,
Yeah, so Stoutland V maybe comes down. You can get 2 prizes off the Oricorio. No, just discards it with the Professor's Research. Just spinning down.
Help, yeah, at all.
Because the Choice Belt is already attached to the Double Turbo Energy, Mew VMAX can't attack because of the Techno Blast. You just have to find a way to retreat it and bring it back up, which should be pretty easy to do with the Cross Switcher.
I mean, honestly, on Stoutland V, if you do have 4 powerful colorless, you could do 280s, so you could knock out like an Enamir, like a Lugia, but that is, yeah, that's not going to help here with that Stoutland. But we are seeing the energy here being put onto that Radiant Charizard.
Yeah, just the V-Guard energy, has the Heat Fire energy.
Of course, the energy requirement was already met with that Heat Fire energy.
Yeah,
there.
Just has the Cross Switcher. Yeah. He knows.
Congratulations to Andrew Mahone for taking that match. Taking out a Lugia, eliminating it from the field here. The dominant Lugia deck that came in at 34% in our day 1. Josh Fernando playing it for the first time yesterday on the table and taking it all the way to 28 match points. Super impressive there. Still trying to grind through the next games for Josh Fernando as well. Trying to get as many match points as possible, but Andrew Mahone being able to have just enough disruption in the deck and the strategy built around